Hello students, welcome to Diksha Online Mathematics Lecture 6. In this we will discuss matrices, determinants, vectors and 3D geometry. So let us see algebra of matrices. A fast revision because all things most of you know. Just a fast revision I am doing. So symmetric, skew symmetric. So you know that if A transpose is equal to A, it is symmetric. If A transpose equal to minus A, it is skew symmetric. You know that if A plus A transpose, if you do, you will get symmetric matrix. A minus A transpose, you will get skew symmetric. So half of A plus A transpose plus half of A minus A transpose, you will get A. So any square matrix can be written as a sum of one symmetric, one skew symmetric matrix. So any given matrix, if you want to test symmetric, just test what is its transpose. Are you getting the same matrix or minus of that matrix or something else? So there is no guarantee that every matrix, square matrix, must be either symmetric or skew symmetric. You can have neither symmetric nor skew symmetric also. And you know that A transpose is minus A. So det of A transpose will be minus 1 whole power n into det A. Suppose if n is even, there is no speciality. But if n is odd, say I am writing n is odd case. So n is odd will be minus det A. So in this case det A will be 0. Means determinant of an odd ordered skew symmetric matrix will be 0. Then what is orthogonal, idempotent, involutory? Orthogonal is what? A into A transpose must be equal to I. So A inverse is nothing but A transpose. So I try to understand A into A transpose I means in that matrix row with column means how the elements will be if you treat them as vectors, they will be unit vectors mutually perpendicular to each other. The three rows, if I attach ijk and I create vectors, they will be unit vectors and they will be mutually perpendicular to each other, because A into A transpose, if you want to get identity matrix, the magnitudes must be 1 and other elements are zeros, no, other than principal diagonal elements in identity matrix. So they are mutually perpendicular to each other. That is about orthogonal matrix. Idempotent matrix means A square equal to A. A square equal to A. Involutory matrix means A square equal to I. So self-inverse. A into A equal to I. So A inverse equals to A. Nilpotent. What do you mean by nilpotent? A power n. For some n, you will get null. Wherever you get null, after that also if you increase the powers, you will get null. So the least value of n is called order or index of that nilpotent matrix. Periodic matrix. Suppose if the A is a matrix, if you do A power k plus 1, if you get A, it is called periodic matrix with period k. So that is the least period, which is called fundamental period. Then what do you mean by conjugate? Suppose if A is a given matrix, A conjugate means you will replace all the elements with their conjugates. So what do you mean by conjugate? If A plus IB is a number, I should be replaced with minus I in any complex number, you will get its conjugate. So if each number is replaced with its conjugate, you will get conjugate matrix. Transposed conjugate matrix. So if you transpose the conjugate matrix, you will get transposed conjugate matrix. So conjugate it, then transpose it. It is same as doing transpose, then conjugate. So it is denoted by A theta, transposed conjugate matrix. Hermitian. So if A theta is A, it is called Hermitian. If A theta is minus A, it is called skew Hermitian. Just like symmetric and skew symmetric, any square matrix can be written as sum of one Hermitian and one skew Hermitian. If A into A theta equal to A theta into A equal to I, then A is called unitary matrix. A is called unitary matrix. Then determinant. So what do you mean by determinants? Sum of the products of the elements. Suppose if you have A1, B1, C1, A2, B2, C2, A3, B3, C3. So determinant is element into its cofactor, element into its cofactor, element into its cofactor. Suppose if you have a 1 by 1 matrix, please remember, suppose A is this, then det A will be the element itself. If it is 2 by 2 matrix A, B, C, D, det will be AD minus BC. So even for 2 by 2 also you can use the definition. So here you should know minors, cofactors. I think everybody know. Just I revised what do you mean by determinant. Then determinant properties. You know that determinant properties are very, very important. Determinant of A transpose equal to det A is the first property. And what is that second property? If you interchange any two rows, say I'm writing rows, you should understand for columns. So if you interchange any two rows, det changes its sign. Det changes its sign. Then what is D3? D3, if you change any row by multiplying k to that row, det also will be multiplied by k. Det also will be multiplied by k. So what do you mean by that? Suppose if KA1, KB1, KC1, A2, B2, C2, A3, B3, C3 is there, then it is k times the old determinant. So it is nothing but you can take k common, you can send k inside to one row or one column. In both directions you should understand. So D5, D6, D7, just I am naming for your convenience sake. There is no fixed symbols or like that. Properties are very important. So D5 says that if any row is completely all zeros, det will be 0. D6 says if any two rows are identical, then det will be 0. D7 says if any row is k times other row, then also det will be 0. So these are the three possible ways where determinant can be set directly as 0. Because by understanding the definition of determinant, you can say directly the determinant value is 0. Please remember that if any determinant is there which is determinant value is having 0, then by using row transformations or column transformations, you can give a shape of either D5, D6, D7 to that determinant. So inside hidden matrix will be there. By transformations you will get the matrix in the new form where you can look D5 or D6 or D7 in this in that given matrix if that given matrix determinant is 0. See, directly when the determinant of matrix is 0, you may not see any D5, D6, D7 in that. But by doing row transformations or column transformations, you will see either of D5, D6, D7 form in that determinant. Property number 8, very important property. Suppose if you have a determinant in which one row is sum of two elements, so A2, B2, C2, A3, B3, C3. So this determinant can be split into sum of two determinants, that is x1, y1, z1, A2, B2, C2, A3, B3, C3, x2, y2, z2, A2, B2, C2, A3, B3, C3. So please try to understand from LHS to RHS splitting, from RHS to LHS, how to add determinants. See, observe carefully. You can add two determinants if two rows are same, only one row should be distinct. Same rows will be written as same rows, distinct rows should be added. That is the determinant addition. D9 is very important property. In any determinant, if Ri is transformed Ri plus Krj. See, when I tell row, please try to understand for column also. This operation determinant is unaltered. So determinant don't get effect by adding that row to k times any other row. Determinant won't be affected. Properties D10 and D11. D10 says that actually, if you remember, determinant definition is sum of the products of the elements of a row or column with the corresponding cofactors will give you determinant. Now, if you take the elements of one row and cofactors of other row, sum of the products of the elements of one row with the cofactors of other row, it will be 0. It will be 0. Suppose if you take A1, B1, C1, A2, B2, C2, A3, B3, C3. Suppose if you do A1, A1, B1, B1, C1, C1, you will get it. But if you do A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, you will get 0. Not only with second row, take the elements of one row, cofactors of other row. Sum of the products will be always 0. That is D10. So what is D11? D11 is, suppose if any determinant is a polynomial in X, then suppose if I substitute X equal to A in the determinant, assume I rows or columns are becoming same. I rows are becoming same. When I rows become same, remember by remainder theorem and factor theorem, X minus A whole to the power of I minus 1 will be a factor of determinant. So when I'm repeating, if X equals to A, if you substitute in the determinant, assume that I rows are becoming same. You know that when I rows become same, that will become 0. If two rows becomes, one row is 0, that will become 0. If two rows are identical, that will be 0. If X equals to A, if I substitute, when I rows are becoming same, X minus A whole to the power of I minus 1 will be a factor of that determinant. That is D11. D12. D12 is a very simple and very important property. You know, det AB equal to det of A into det of B, and det of A power n equal to det A whole power n. And you can develop D4, this is D12, this is D13, D14. I want the determinant of orthogonal matrix. How to develop? What is orthogonal matrix rule? A into A transpose equal to I. Apply data on both sides. So det A into det A transpose, which is det A square, which is 1. So det A will be plus or minus 1. So in determinant D14 property, let us calculate the determinants of all types and try to understand them. No need to mug up or by heart. Just try to understand how we are developing the determinant of orthogonal, involutory, idempotent by using this property. Det of AB equal to det A into det B, or det of A power n equal to det A whole power n. D15. What is D15? Very important. Product of determinants. Not product of matrices, product of determinants. So A1, B1, C1, A2, B2, C2, A3, B3, C3. Then X1, Y1, Z1, X2, Y2, Z2, X3, Y3, Z3. So actually det A into det B should be det of AB, no? So det of AB means we can multiply row with column. A1 X1 plus B1 X2 plus C1 X3. See, I wrote only one element. Please try to understand. Row with column I did. But can I do like this? A1 X1 plus B1 Y1 C1 Z1. Row with row. First row with first row. First row with second row. First row with third row. Second row with second row with first row. Second row with second row. See, actually matrix multiplication is defined as row with column. But determinants can be multiplied with row with column or row with column. Row with row, column with row, column with column also. Why and how? Because det A transpose equal to det A. Suppose if I do the second determinant transpose, and if I write the original way of writing multiplication of matrices is row with column. After doing transpose, if I do row with column, indirectly you are doing row with row only. No, that's a, please remember, determinants multiplication you can do with row also, row with column also, column with row also, column with column also. Property number 16 is derivative. I think everybody know how to do the derivative of a determinant. Suppose if you have in the determinant f of x, g of x, h of x, phi of x. So it's dash means derivative of that. So f dash x, g dash x, h of x, phi of x plus f of x, g of x, h dash x, phi dash x. Means one row should be differentiated, other row should be same. Plus like that. If it is 3 by 3 also, you will write 3 determinants. First row differentiation, second, third as it is, plus first, third as it is, second row differentiation, plus first, second as it is, third row derivatives. Then D17 is integration. But with integration, there is a limitation that in the determinant, only one row you should have functions. Other row must be constants. Then integration of this will be simply in the determinant you can integrate the functions, constant will be constants. So the limitation is, suppose if it is 3 by 3 also, only one row should have functions, remaining two rows should have numbers. Then only you can do integration like this. Otherwise you have to expand the determinant and you have to evaluate the integration. So some applications, you know, area of triangle you can find if vertices are given half mod det x1 y1 1 x2 y2 1 x3 y3 1. So modulus is must. Suppose if the points are collinear, the area will be 0. So you can use this determinant technique to show the given 3 points are collinear. Similarly in straight lines, I think you know that if a1x plus b1y plus c1 equal to 0, a2x plus b2y plus c2 equal to 0, a3x plus b3y plus c3 equal to 0, if they are concurrent, the determinant of coefficients will be 0. The determinant of coefficients will be 0. Converse is not true. The lines are congruent, det will be 0. If det is 0, there is no guarantee for the concurrency. And similarly, I think you know a second degree non-homogeneous equation, ax square plus 2hxy plus by square plus 2gx plus 2fy plus c. If has to represent a pair of straight lines, there is a det which should be 0, a, b, c, principal diagonal, f, g, h. So symmetric matrix. So if you expand this, it is called discriminant of the non-homogeneous given equation, which is abc plus 2fgh minus af square minus bg square minus ch square equal to 0. Not only this, several applications, the main applications which we will use. Adjoint matrix. So adjoint matrix means for the given matrix, if you replace every element with its cofactor, so it is called cofactor matrix. So you will get capital A1, capital B1, capital C, A2, B2, C2, A3, B3, C3. Then what is adjoint? Adjoint of A is transpose of the cofactor matrix A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, C1, C2, C3. So the transpose of the cofactor matrix of a given matrix is called adjoint matrix. So very powerful theorem you have, that is A into adjoint A equal to adjoint A into A equal to I. So with this theorem, you can develop a lot of informations based on adjoint and inverse. So with that, what is det of adjoint A? Det of adjoint A is det A whole to the power of n minus 1. Then what is det of adjoint A? Det A whole to the power of n minus 1 whole square. Remember how many adjoints are there, so much power you will get here. Suppose adjoint of 100 times A is there, then det A whole to the power of n minus 1 whole power 100 you will get. Then suppose if you want to calculate adjoint of adjoint A matrix, simply det A whole power n minus 2 into A. So to the matrix A, you have to multiply det A whole power n minus 2. You will get the matrix adjoint of adjoint A. See, adjoint A is 3 by 3, 9 elements, cofactors have to find, cofactor matrix have to get, its transpose is adjoint. Again from adjoint, if you want to calculate the adjoint of adjoint A matrix, again that adjoint A 9 elements, cofactors, transpose, it's very lengthy as it is. But the formula adjoint of adjoint is det A whole to the power of n minus 2 into A. Even this also can be developed with the main formula A into adjoint A equal to det A into I. Put in the place of A adjoint A, you will get the result. So similarly, you have adjoint of A transpose is adjoint A. Adjoint of AB equal to, this is very important, adjoint B into adjoint A. Order will be differing. These are some main properties of adjoint. Then inverse. See, A into adjoint A equal to adjoint A into A equal to det A into I. No, if you shift that det A left side, you will get A into adjoint A 1 by det A equal to I. See, 1 by det A is given to what? That is important. Suppose if you want A inverse, give 1 by det A to adjoint A. If you want adjoint A whole inverse, 1 by det A into A. 1 by det A into A. A very important theorem in this, AB whole inverse equal to B inverse A inverse. Reverse, just like transpose, AB whole transpose is B transpose A transpose, like that. So these are the main properties of inverse. Some more properties we want to see in inverse. One is very important, cancellation law. So if you want to say B equal to C, you should multiply A inverse from left on both sides. So for that, A inverse should exist, no? So det A should not be equal to 0. So please remember, in matrices, if you want to cancel, that should be a non-singular matrix. If it is a non-singular matrix, you can cancel a matrix in the matrix equation. Suppose if A is symmetric, A inverse is also symmetric. If A is scalar, A inverse is also scalar. If A is a triangular, A inverse is also triangular. So similarly, you can say for adjoint also. If A is symmetric, adjoint A is also symmetric. If A is diagonal, adjoint A is also diagonal. And one more important thing, if A is a diagonal matrix D1, D2, D3, the way of this is 3 by 3, D1 0 0 0, D2 0 0 0, D3. So A inverse directly you can say D1 inverse, D2 inverse, D3 inverse. Next, submatrix, rank of a matrix. Submatrix. By removing some rows or columns in the given matrix, the leftover matrix is called submatrix. Rank of a matrix. Suppose if you have a matrix 3 by 4. Now what is the maximum ordered square matrices we can develop? in this 3 by 3. Suppose if at least one 3 by 3 submatrix determinant is non-zero, we say rank is 3. Assume that all the 3 by 3 determinants are zeros. Then we will shift to 2 by 2 submatrices. We will check whether any one is non-singular. Then 2 will become the rank. Like that we will check the rank. But doing rank by its original process will be very difficult. That's why we'll introduce a form called echelon form. So echelon form means in a matrix, as you go down row wise, number of leading zeros will increase. Number of leading zeros will increase. For example, like this 1 2 3 0 1 2 0 0 1 0 0 1. So this we can call as echelon form. And one important thing on rank, I can say that we can say like properties of rank. Rank of A transpose is rank of A. Rank of AB cannot exceed the individual ranks. And elementary operations on matrices. This is very, very important. So there are 3 elementary operations on matrices. See, I'm not talking about determinant properties. I'm talking about elementary row operations on matrices. See, 2 rows can be interchangeable. 1 row can be multiplied with a constant. 1 row added to k times other row. These are the 3 operations we can apply for rows or columns. These operations also does not affect the rank of the matrix. So if the given matrix, by using that row operations or column operations, if you convert into echelon form, number of non-zero rows present in the echelon form is nothing but the rank of the matrix. Characteristic equation of a matrix. So what do you mean by that? Suppose A is a square matrix, assume 2 by 2. Then A minus lambda I det equal to 0. A minus lambda I det, if you equate it to 0. And if we expand that determinant, you will get a equation in lambda. And that lambda equation will be lambda square minus S1 lambda plus S2 equal to 0. Sum of roots taken at a time, product of the roots, because the equation in lambda. Then please remember that S1 will be trace of the given matrix A and S2 will be the determinant of the matrix. And the values of this lambda, they are called eigenvalues. Similarly, one more thing I want to tell you here. Characteristic equation, actually you are saying that lambda is a scalar, but in place of lambda, if you substitute A, that equation will be satisfied. Means if you write A square minus this S1 into A plus S2 into I, because S2 is a scalar, you should attach whenever scalar is there, identity matrix you have to attach. So this is called characteristic equation. So if you write in terms of lambda and if you take the values of lambda, they are called eigenvalues. In place of lambda, if you substitute A, it is called characteristic equation. The specialty of characteristic equation is from that you can calculate A inverse very easily. If you have a 3 by 3 matrix, then you will have lambda cube minus S1 lambda square plus S2 lambda minus S3 equal to 0. Here S1 is nothing but trace of the given matrix A. S2 is nothing but the sum of the minors of principal diagonal elements, sum of the minors of principal diagonal elements. S3 naturally again determinant of A. So again same, A will be satisfied by this equation which we call characteristic equation, and the values of lambda are called eigenvalues, and from the characteristic equation you can calculate A inverse very easily. Eigenvalues, just now I told you, eigenvalues. So what I mean by, if I understand the eigenvalues, we can say something like, if A is a square matrix, the eigenvalues of A and eigenvalues of, say I'm writing eigenvalues of A and eigenvalues of A transpose will be same. Eigenvalues of A and eigenvalues of A transpose will be same. And can I say some of the eigenvalues are nothing but the trace of the given matrix? Because eigenvalues is the values which we get for lambda. So the sum of those values will be trace. And what is the product of eigenvalues? Determinant of the given matrix. And remember, suppose if there are some eigenvalues like lambda 1, lambda 2, so on lambda n for a matrix A. So there are n eigenvalues for a matrix A. Then for Ka matrix, what will be the eigenvalue? Simply K will be multiplied to the eigenvalues. So I am repeating, suppose there is a matrix A for which you have developed the characteristic equation in lambda. So that lambda will get some values, they are called eigenvalues. Let they are lambda 1, lambda 2, so on lambda n. Suppose if you take a new matrix Ka for which I want eigenvalues, simply for A eigenvalues multiply K. Suppose for A power m I want eigenvalues, it will be lambda 1 power m, lambda 2 power m, so on lambda n power m. Suppose for A inverse I want eigenvalues, then it will be 1 by lambda 1, 1 by lambda 2, so on 1 by lambda n. So these are some main properties of eigenvalues. Then linear equations in two variables, non-homogeneous. So matrix form and symbols. So suppose a1x plus b1y equal to c1, a2x plus b2y equal to c2. You know that if you want to write in the matrix form a1 b1 a2 b2 into xy equal to c1 c2, c1 c2. This is called matrix form for the given linear equations. So when you want to say that it's non-homogeneous, at least one of c1 c2 should not be equal to 0. At least one of c1 c2 should not be equal to 0. Means according to geometry, if I speak, at least one of the lines should not pass through origin. And you know that this determinant of a1 b1 a2 b2 generally represented by delta. The first column is replaced with c1 c2 b1 b2, it is delta 1. Delta 2 will be a1 a2 c1 c2. Second column will be replaced with column c1 c2. Now when this two variable non-homogeneous equation will have unique solutions, a1 by, so you have two equations, no? So a1 by a2 is not equal to b1 by b2, then you will have a unique solution. Because slopes are not equal, you can say geometrically det is not equal to 0, det of, that is delta, not equal to 0, you can say. Whenever delta not equal to 0, there is a rule called Cramer's rule, x equal to delta 1 by delta, y equals to delta 2 by delta, you can use to find the xy values. There is another method called matrix inversion method, so that xy matrix can be calculated by the procedure A inverse into B. A inverse into B. Actually, A inverse is actually what? 1 by det A into adjoint A into B. So this is possible when det A is not equal to 0. That's the reason of unique solution. That is the meaning of unique solution. Then only unique solution exists. So adjoint A, if you multiply to B, whatever matrix you will get, that 1 by det A into that, you will get the x and y values. Now when you will have infinite solutions, infinite solutions means the lines must be coincident. So can I say A1 by A2 equal to B1 by B2 equal to C1 by C2? Please observe this. Delta is 0, delta 1 is 0, delta 2 is also 0. Please remember, all deltas are zeros. So according to Cramer's rule, x will be indeterminate forms. So then in that situation, you will have infinite solutions. You will have infinite solutions. So what will happen? Suppose if I ask you matrix inversion method, that X matrix is a column matrix, no? So 1 by det A into adjoint A into B. So you should get something like this. Here X value should get, Y value should get. Can I say now adjoint A into B will be a null matrix and outside you have 1 by 0 structure. So this is a structure where you will get infinite solutions. No solutions means the lines are parallel. So A1 by A2 equal to B1 by B2 but not equal to C1 by C2. Its meaning is delta equal to 0. At least one of delta 1, delta 2 are non-zeros. So at least are not zeros. So there is no rule that both should not be zeros, but at least the rule what we say is at least one should not be 0. Here in this case, both are not zeros. Now, what happens in matrix inversion method? So in Cramer's rule also what you are getting, if you observe infinity comma infinity means lines are meeting at infinity. The meaning is they are not meeting. That's why no solution. So by matrix inversion method, 1 by 0, a matrix in which this adjoint A, this is adjoint A into B, no, it won't be a null matrix. Not a null matrix means at least one should not be 0. But outside 1 by 0 is there. Outside 1 by 0 is there. Now, one more easy procedure is there. If you write the coefficients A1, B1, C1, A2, B2, C2, and this column matrix, result matrix C1, C2 also in a single matrix, it is called augmented matrix. So, AM, augmented matrix. By using transformations on a matrix, I told you 3 transformations you can do. Interchanging the rows, multiplying some constant to a row, adding a row to k times other row, you can do. So if you convert this into echelon form, see I am using the word echelon form. So according to the echelon form, what you should get here, you should get a 0. Then in the conversion of echelon form, see there are 3 possibilities. Suppose if I get like this, the second row I am telling, first element is 0, second element is non-zero, third element can be anything. So please remember, in augmented matrix equations are stored. So the last row says you that 0x plus non-zero into y is something. Then it will have unique solution. Suppose if the last row is like this, 0, 0, 0. What does it mean? 0x plus 0y plus 0, 0x plus 0y equal to 0. So it shows that infinite solutions are there. Suppose if it is like this, 0, 0 but not 0, not possible, no, because 0x plus 0 cannot be equal to something like 5. That's why no solution. See now, okay, homogeneous now. Homogeneous. So homogeneous means both lines will pass through origin. So there is no question of no solution. So the only possibility is unique solution. That is how to symbolize this: a1 b1 a2 b2 into xy equal to 0 0. So this is a, this is x, this is b. Suppose when you have unique solution means they intersect. Intersect means that det A should not be equal to 0. Det A should not be equals to 0. Then the lines will intersect. And what will be the solution? 0, 0 is the solution. 0, 0. This solution is called trivial solution. Trivial means compulsory solution. It is called compulsory solution. Now when you have infinite solution, means through origin the two lines are passing through coincident, then can I say det A should be equal to 0, because a1 by a2 equal to b1 by b2. That's why det A will be 0. So there will be infinite solutions. Please remember, in those infinite solution, origin is one of the solution. So the solutions we call as other than origin non-trivial solution, because origin is 100% guarantee, but there will be having non-trivial solutions also. So this is about homogeneous. So same thing you can extend it for 3 variables also. Same thing you can extend it for 3 variables. So what do you mean by extending for 3 variables? So let us take a1x plus b1y plus c1 equal to d1, a2x plus b2y plus c2z equal to d2, a3x plus b3y plus c3z equal to d3. If at least one of d1, d2, d3 are not 0, it is called non-homogeneous. So similarly here also I can write ax equal to b, where a is a1, b1, c1, a2, b2, c2, a3, b3, c3, x is xyz column matrix, equal to b is also a column matrix d1, d2, d3. Here also you can define delta 1, that is det A, delta 2, replace first column with d1, d2, d3. Similarly you can define delta, this is delta 1, delta 2, delta 3. Delta 1 means first column with d1, d2, d3. Delta 2 means second column with d1, d2, d3. Delta 3 means third column with d1, d2, d3. So these are the symbols. So here also Cramer's rule is there. X will be delta 1 by delta, y will be delta 2 by delta, z will be delta 3 by delta. Matrix inversion is also there. X equals to A inverse into B. Now let us discuss cases. Unique solution. How, when you will have unique solution. And did you observe anything? The 3 equations here represents 3 planes. 3 planes. So unique solution means all 3 planes will have a common point. They all pass through a single common point. So what does it mean when that is the situation? Remember, delta won't be 0, because according to Cramer's rule, x should be delta 1 by delta, y should be delta 2 by delta, z should be delta 3 by delta. Then you cannot have delta equal to 0. So delta won't be 0. Then that x, y, z you can get with 1 by det A into adjoint A into B also. So this, when this is not equal to 0, you will get unique solution. You will get unique solution. See, when this is not 0, we don't speak anything about adjoint A into B. Inside you have a null matrix, no problem. Any other matrix, no problem. Please remember that is a column matrix. That is a column matrix. And if I use that argument matrix structure, the last row should be 0x plus 0y, because it should convert into echelon form. No, augmented matrix by using operations of rows convert it into echelon form. So echelon form, the last step should be like this, means 0x plus 0y plus something z is something, then z you can calculate. Then when z is calculated, y and z can be y and x can be calculated, you will have unique solution. So what do you mean by infinite solutions? Infinite solutions means, from Cramer's rule I can say that x is delta 1 by delta, y is delta 2 by delta, z is delta 3 by delta. So when you want infinite, remember that delta should be 0, delta should be 0, and any one of delta 1, delta 2, delta 3. Not any one of, all should be zeros. All should be zeros. So all delta is, if it is 0, then you will get indeterminate forms. You will get indeterminate forms. Then what is the meaning? From matrix inversion method you will understand. You see xyz, you will have 1 by det A, which is 0 here in the denominator. This adjoint A into B is also a null matrix, means 1 by 0 into a null matrix you will get. See, this will become a null matrix. Then what will happen to the augmented matrix after converting into echelon form? To get infinite solutions, you will have like this: 0x plus 0y plus 0z equal to 0. It will have infinite solutions. It will have infinite solutions. And please observe, you can compare the ranks of augmented matrix and rank of coefficient matrix. Rank of coefficient matrix. Comparing ranks also, you can say number of solutions, because this is very easy procedure to tell the number of solutions. But please observe the ranks. In this case, rank will be rank of augmented matrix and rank of coefficient matrix will be equal, but it is not equal to 3 number of equations. Then it will have infinite solutions. But if I rank of augmented matrix and rank of coefficient matrix is equal and equal to 3, unique solution. If the ranks are not equal, no solution. See, next we will discuss. No solution. What will happen when no solution? Delta will be 0. At least one of delta I won't be 0. Then what happens by matrix inversion method? xyz 1 by delta into adjoint A into B. Here 1 by 0, but it is not a null matrix. Not a null matrix inside. Then augmented matrix, if I see, the last will be 0, 0, 0, but non-zero I will get. Observe carefully. Rank of augmented matrix is 3, but rank of coefficient matrix is 2. So ranks are not equal. So no solution. So when it is no solution, we say that system is inconsistent. When solutions are there, either unique or infinite, we say that system is consistent. We say that system is consistent. Then homogeneous. Very simple. Homogeneous means all three planes pass through origin. So there is no question of not having solutions. So no solution chance is not there. So AX equal to null matrix. That's all. AX equal to null matrix. Now unique solution. So please remember that det A won't be 0. Then you will have unique solution, that is x equal to 0, y equal to 0, z equal to 0. This is called what? Trivial solution. This is called trivial solution, and that is the only solution possible there. Then the det A equal to 0, this says that all three planes will have a line common. So line common means infinite values will satisfy all three planes. That is the meaning of infinite solutions. In that case, det A will be 0. Det A will be 0, in which origin is also one of the solution. So they are called non-trivial solutions. They are called non-trivial solutions. So reflection of a point with respect to a line using a matrix. Suppose you have a point P x comma y. Suppose after reflection this is x dash y dash. So please remember, if you want P dash, cos 2 theta, sin 2 theta, sin 2 theta minus cos 2 theta into P. So if you multiply this matrix with the old coordinates, you will get after reflection. What is theta? Theta is the inclination of the line about which you want the reflection. About which you want the reflection. Suppose you want the line is, example I am telling, the line is y equal to x. So what is the inclination? Inclination is 45 degrees. So what is the point? Cos 90, sin 90, theta is 45, sin 90, cos 90, again 0 into xy. So if you multiply, it will be y x, no? So the new point will be y comma x. So with respect to y equal to x, the reflection of x comma y is y comma x. So like that you can use. Let us discuss addition of vectors. See here, the things which I wrote are not great things, but they are very useful. Generally, when we do AB bar, we take origin as the base point. But remember, in place of origin, you can take any point. That is what I want to say you here. Even for section formula also, any point you can take as the base point. Here the meaning of this is, suppose you have a line segment AB, a point C is dividing in the ratio m is to n, let P be any point, then m into PB bar plus n into PA bar should be equal to m plus n into PC bar. Section formula, but taken any point as the base point. With that you can develop this PA bar plus PB bar plus PC bar. Suppose if you take ABC, let P be any point in the plane of the triangle, then suppose if D is the midpoint of BC, then PA bar plus PB bar plus PC bar. Now since D is dividing BC in the ratio 1 is to 1, I can read 1 into PC bar plus 1 into PB bar equal to 2 times PD bar, I can say. So now again coefficients are 1 into PA bar. So if you join this AD, 1 into PA plus 2 into PD means 1 plus 2 into, what is the point which is dividing AD in the ratio 2 is to 1? PG. That's why 3 PG bar. 3 PG bar. These properties are very, very important. We will see it. Okay, now lengths of median. Just now suppose ABC is a triangle. Suppose I want median from A. So that AD bar vector, can I do like this? 2 into AD bar equal to 1 into AC bar plus 1 into AB bar. Because let us treat BC as a line segment. D is the point which is dividing in the 1 is to 1 ratio. Let the point P is A. Then 1 into AC bar plus 1 into AB bar equal to 1 plus 1, 2 into AD bar. So if you know points ABC or vectors AB, AC, then you can find AD bar vector and its magnitude also you can find. Now suppose if you want angular bisectors, ABC, you know angular bisector bisects the opposite side in the ratio of other two sides. Then you know the ratio. Let A be the point. So can I write C into AC bar plus B into AB bar is equal to C plus B into AD bar. So try to apply that formula by taking any point as the base point. Here the base point I am taking as A. Now Euler's line. So you know that in any triangle, this will be 3x, x, 2x. Orthocenter, 9-point circle center, centroid, circumcenter will be collinear. Now we developed in any triangle, PA bar plus PB bar plus PC bar is equal to 3PG bar we developed. So I told you that P can be any point in the plane of the triangle. Suppose if I take P equal to centroid. P equal to centroid. So can I say it is GA bar plus GB bar plus GC bar equal to 3GG bar, which is O bar. So this is one result. Suppose if I take P equal to 9-point circle center, so I can say NA bar plus NB bar plus NC bar is equal to 3NG bar. So 3NG, NG is this. 3NG bar means 3x is the length and NG is the direction. Then can I say that is ON bar, because that is also same direction, 3x length. So I can say this is 3 by 2 GS bar. See, by using this Euler's line you can represent like that. Suppose if P equal to circumcenter, so you will get SCA bar plus SB bar plus SC bar equal to 3 SG bar according to the result. SG is, this is the direction. So 2x is the length, so total 6x is the length. So I can write 1 SO bar. So like that we can write, even if it is orthocenter also you can write OA bar plus OB bar plus OC bar equal to 3 OG bar. So OG is 4x for the 12x. 12x means I can write 2 OS bar. Direction you should not change. So like this you can develop some results on Euler's line. DCs and DRs of a line and a vector. You are very familiar with these words. The only thing that you should understand is whenever we call DC, it is a unit vector what we are speaking. Whenever we speak DR, to that unit vector we have infinite parallel vectors. So the parallel vectors ijk coefficients are nothing but DRs. Unit vectors ijk coefficients are nothing but DCs. So if you understand this, 3D and vector algebra is not a different issue. They are of both same. The only language we speak differs. Actually, if you recollect, DC means if you draw a line parallel to a given line. So DC is for a line, no? So if you draw a line parallel to the given line passing through origin, let it is making alpha, beta, gamma angles with the coordinate axis. Then you know that cos alpha, cos beta, cos gamma are DCs. Cos alpha, cos beta, cos gamma are DCs. Then if you multiply any non-zero constant, they are called DCs, DRs. They are called DRs. Now suppose if LMN are the DCs, you know that Li cap plus Mj cap plus Nk cap will be a unit vector. If A, B, C are DRs, AI plus Bj plus Ck is a vector along that line. This unit vector is also along that line. So you know that there will be two DCs for a line. So there will be two unit vectors on a line having two different opposite directions. So there will be infinite DRs for a line. All those infinite DRs are the infinite vectors along the line. point and vector representation. This, if you understand, there is a bridge between 3D and vectors very clearly. Suppose if I say x1 comma y1 comma z1 is a point. So it's a purely Cartesian structure, 3D structure. Then if I say I plus j plus x1 I cap plus y1 j cap plus z1 k cap is a point. This is somewhat different representation. It's saying a point but representing it with a vector. Then what you should understand, I'm speaking about the position vector of the point. So this should be the position vector of the point x1 y1 z1. So that is the sense in that. Now if I say a comma b comma c is a vector, so writing a comma b comma c point as a vector, please remember a comma b comma c are drs I am speaking. So indirectly, what does it mean? A plus bj plus ck vector about which I am talking. Now if I say ai plus bj plus ck vector, it's a pure form of vectors language. So please remember these 4 types of representations. So a point can be represented by Cartesian or a position vector. A vector can be represented with ijk structure or with its drs. Linear combination of vectors. So what do you mean by linear combination of vectors? Suppose a1 bar, a2 bar, so on, an bar are n vectors, l1, l2, so on, ln are scalars. Then l1 a1 bar, l2 a2 bar, so on ln an bar is called linear combination of vectors. Is called linear combination of vectors. Suppose that linear combination L1 A1 bar plus L2 A2 bar plus so on Ln An bar is O bar, means we got null vector. Then there are 2 possibilities. When you get null vector, there are 2 possibilities. That is, if L1, L2, so on Ln all are equal to 0, if all scalars are 0, there is no speciality of the vectors in getting O bar as the result. So I can say that the vectors A1 bar, A2 bar, so on, An bar are Li. They are Li. Suppose not all scalars 0. Means L1, L2, some scalars are not 0. At least one scalar is not 0. Still I am getting O bar, means vectors are playing some role in getting null vector. In that case, that A1 bar, A2 bar, so on An bar will become LD, linearly dependent. Collinear. Collinear vectors means A bar is parallel to B bar. Means one vector will be some lambda times other vector. So can I say lambda A bar plus minus 1 into B bar is O bar? Means linear combination of A bar B bar is O bar, but at least one is non-zero. When at least one is non-zero, vectors are LD. Means 2 parallel vectors are always LD. 2 parallel vectors are always LD. So naturally 2 non-collinear vectors or non-parallel vectors are Li. So that we can understand with a structure xa bar plus yb bar, suppose it is O bar, then there are 2 chances. X is 0, y is 0, not both 0. This you know that in this case when x is 0, y is 0, Li. What do you mean by Li? Non-collinear, so they are non-parallel. So when not both 0, they are LD, they are parallel. So please remember, 2 collinear vectors are LD, 2 non-collinear vectors are Li. Coplanar, non-coplanar. So vectors are said to be coplanar if they lie in the same plane or on parallel planes also. You know that if 3 vectors A bar, B bar, C bar are coplanar, then one vector can be written as a linear combination of other two. So can I say a bar plus minus x into b bar plus minus y into c bar equal to o bar? Then very clearly linear combination is o bar and one of the scalar is non-zero. So can I say coplanar vectors are LD and non-coplanar vectors will be Li. So this I can store in the form of like this. Suppose three vectors linear combination is O bar such that x equal to y equal to z equal to 0. Then the vectors are Li and this is non-coplanar. And not all 0, then they are LD, they are coplanar. So when two vectors will be LD? When they are parallel. When three vectors will be LD? When they are coplanar. When four vectors will be LD? Four vectors are always LD. Four vectors are always LD. Then equation of a line, basic form. This is very, very important form. Suppose you have a point A bar and a vector along the line. Then what is the equation? So R bar equal to A bar plus lambda B bar, where lambda is a parameter. So instead of lambda, if I in place of B bar, if I use B cap, there is no problem, because whether it's a unit vector or a normal vector, no problem. Equation has no effect. But if you write like that, there is a speciality that whatever lambda you will give, suppose if I take lambda and mod lambda, it will be modulus of R bar minus A bar, because modulus of B cap is 1. Means whatever lambda you give, you will generate a point R bar which is at a distance of mod lambda from the given point A bar. This is very, very important structure. Now the same thing if I do in Cartesian, you know that what will be the differing? Instead of position vector, you will tell the point, and instead of telling vector, you will tell its drs. Then what is the formula? X minus x1 by a equal to y minus y1 by b equal to z minus z1 by c. If I take some lambda, you can write any point on the line as x1 plus a lambda, y1 plus b lambda, z1 plus c lambda. 2-point form. 2-point form is not a special one, because basic one, if you learn this, you can convert in this 2-point form, you can convert to basic one. So to write the equation of a line, I need a point, I need a vector. I need a point on the line, I need a vector along the line. Now when I have 2 points, can I say I have a vector b bar minus a bar along the line? Now I have 2 points on one vector, so I can write R bar equal to a bar plus lambda times b bar minus a bar, or R bar equal to b bar plus lambda times b bar minus a bar. So the same, if you use unit vectors in the place of b bar minus a bar, cap if you use, whatever lambda you give at mod lambda distance from, if you use here a bar, from a bar you will generate the points. If you use b bar here, from b bar you will generate the points. Now if you further simplify this, R bar equal to 1 minus lambda into a bar plus lambda b bar. So if you observe carefully, 1 minus lambda into a bar plus lambda b bar plus minus 1 into R bar equal to O bar. This is a linear combination of a bar, b bar, R bar, which are points, collinear points. Then please observe the scalars. They are not all 0, but their sum is 0. So you can write one important point, x a bar plus y b bar plus z c bar equal to O bar, where remember a bar, b bar, c bar are points, not vectors. If there's vectors, it will go into coplanarity, non-coplanarity structure. Now it is not vectors. I'm telling they are points. Now x, y, z not all 0 but their sum is 0, then collinearity. So the points will be collinear. Suppose if x is 0, y is 0, z is 0, the points will be non-collinear. The points will be non-collinear. So even in Cartesian form also you can write the equation x minus x1 by x2 minus x1. Just only remember this a bar b bar vectors, position vectors, will write in the point form, Cartesian form. Now equation of a plane, basic form. That is, basic form contains one point and two non-parallel vectors. Two non-parallel vectors. So r bar equal to a bar plus xb bar plus yc bar. R bar equal to a bar plus xb bar plus yc bar, where x and y are parameters. Now, if a bar is O bar, the plane is passing through origin. So, whenever this r bar minus a bar, b bar, c bar are coplanar, their box also will be 0. That is another way of expressing the straight line, the equation of the plane, where there is no parameter. R bar minus a bar is a vector and b cross c is a vector which is perpendicular to the plane, then if its dot product also should be equal to 0. So the same thing we expressed in the box form. So this structure we can tell in these many ways. So this first one is called parametric form, other ones are called non-parametric forms because you don't find any parameter there. 2 points, one vector. Suppose you have a plane A bar, B bar, and there is a vector C bar. So by joining this, you can get B bar minus A bar one vector. Then shift it to the basic structure. So I can say that R bar equal to A bar plus lambda times B bar minus A bar plus mu times C bar. I'm using basic structure formula. So R bar equal to 1 minus lambda into A bar plus lambda B bar plus mu C bar. Or you can say that R bar minus A bar is a vector and B bar minus A bar cross C bar is a vector which is perpendicular to the plane. This dot product must be 0. It is nothing but box of R bar minus A bar, B bar minus A bar, C bar must be 0. Three non-collinear points. Plane passing through three non-collinear points. So by using these three non-collinear points, we can generate two vectors B bar minus A bar, C bar minus A bar. Then take any one point in the plane and write R bar equal to A bar plus X into B bar minus A bar plus Y into C bar minus A bar. So R bar equal to 1 minus X minus Y into A bar plus XB bar plus YC bar. See, this is called parametric forms. So similarly, you can write R bar minus A bar. See, in place of A bar, you can use any one point. Dot B bar minus A bar cross C bar minus A bar is equal to 0. This is nothing but box R bar minus A bar, B bar minus A bar, C bar minus A bar equal to 0. As you know that box is nothing but the determinant expansion. All the determinant properties which we learn we can use in box also. Coplanarity of 4 points. Suppose A bar, B bar, C bar, D bar are 4 points such that XA bar plus YB bar plus ZC bar plus WD bar equal to O bar. There are two possibilities. x, y, z, w not all 0, but x plus y plus z plus w equal to 0, then points are coplanar. If x equal to y equal to z equal to w equal to 0, points are non-coplanar. Points are non-coplanar. That you can see in the last structure of plane equation. So we wrote r bar equal to 1 minus x minus y into a bar plus xb bar plus yc bar. Observe the sum of the scalars on the right side, 1. R bar is also a point in the same plane. So a bar, b bar, c bar, r bar are coplanar. So if you write in this structure, sum of the scalars is 0, but not all 0, because r bar coefficient will be minus 1. We shift r bar this side. Okay, dot product. So you know the definition of dot product, and geometrical interpretation of dot product is projections. So what is the projection of a bar on b bar? A bar dot b cap. What is the projection vector? A bar dot b cap into b cap. Suppose if you have a bar vector like this, b bar is like this. So if you draw perpendicular, this LM is the projection. So LM bar, if you want LM, just projection, if you want projection can be positive or negative, it will be a bar dot b cap. Length of projection, if you want, a bar dot b cap modulus. Then vector along the projection, if you want, a bar dot b cap into b cap. Now projection of a bar which is perpendicular to b bar in the plane of a bar and b bar. Say I am repeating, projection of a bar perpendicular to b bar in the plane of a bar and b bar is nothing but a bar minus a bar dot b cap into b cap. Please remember, this is one component and this is one component. This, if you shift, this will be here. So any vector a bar, horizontal component, vertical component. Horizontal component will be a bar dot b cap into b cap. A bar minus a bar dot b cap into b cap will be the vertical component. So magnitude of a vector inequality. Magnitude of a vector, actually really speaking, you will learn xi plus yj plus zk magnitude is under root of x square plus y square plus z square. Okay, geometrically we can explain because it is the resolution of vector in 3D plane, three-dimensional plane. So there you will see that from origin to the point x comma y comma z, the vector joining is nothing but xi plus yj plus zk. Its length will be under root of x square plus y square plus z square. Okay. But what is the guarantee that always I will create systems using ijk? I can use some other vectors. So I plus j plus k, 3i plus 4j plus 5k, something I plus something j plus something k. I'll take 3 non-coplanar vectors and I'll prepare a system, right-handed system or left-handed system. I'll prepare. In that system, if I have a vector a bar, how to get its magnitude? Please remember, you know that a dot a is always mod a bar whole square, or simply you can write a bar square. So mod a bar will be equals to under root of a bar dot a bar. So magnitude of any vector is always square root of dot product of it with itself. Now inequality. A bar dot b bar, you know that mod a bar, mod b bar, cos theta. So if I want mod of a bar dot b bar, it will be mod cos theta. And mod cos theta always lies between 0 and 1. So if I remove cos theta from that side, right side becomes more. So this is the very important inequality in dot product. Normal form of a plane, Cartesian and vector form, both. So suppose if there is a plane from origin, perpendicular distance is p, and there is a unit vector n cap, then its equation is r bar dot n cap equal to p. How to express this in the Cartesian form? So perpendicular distance p only, but instead of n cap, we will say DCs of the normal line. Let DCs of the normal line are Lmn. Then what will be the formula? Lx plus my plus nz equal to p. If you observe carefully, this LHS is nothing but xi plus yj plus zk dot product with li plus mj plus nk equal to p. So this is r bar, this is n cap. So observe carefully, both are inside, other will be present. Just I told you, no, DCs means unit vector means DCs. Vectors means DRs, DRs means vectors. If you understand that, this linking is very easy to understand. General form of a plane, you know, AX plus BY plus CZ plus D equal to 0. If you observe carefully, this is a dot product between xi plus yj plus zk and AI plus bj plus ck. So can I say now ABC is a normal vector to the plane? Normal vector to the plane. So what do you mean by normal vector to the plane? Can I say DCs of normal line to the plane? So this is the general form of a plane. You can convert this into r bar dot AI plus bj plus ck plus d equal to 0. So if you make this unit vector and send this constant that side and put modulus for that, it will be the perpendicular distance from origin. This plane equation you can convert into normal forms also. So equation of the plane, basic. So what is the equation of the plane? See, we are in dot product. We are discussing using dot product how we can write. The equation of the plane already we wrote. It's in a different form, parametric form, like that we use. Equation of the plane using dot. We will link them using dot. So dot, using dot, the basic information is there is a vector a bar, there is a point a bar in the plane, and there is a vector m bar perpendicular to the plane. Indirectly speaking, if you recollect, when I give one point and two vectors, if you do cross product between those two vectors, that is nothing but m bar, what we are saying here. So it's not a different thing, the same thing interpreting in a different way. So the formula is r bar minus a bar dot m bar will be 0. This, if you want Cartesian form also you can write. So suppose a bar is ai plus bj plus ck, like that. R bar is xi plus yj plus zk. Then what you will get? X minus a, x minus x1, a into b into y minus y1 plus c into z minus z1. So what is x1 y1 z1? The point a bar is x1 y1 z1. What is m bar? ai plus bj plus ck. R bar is arbitrary point, xi plus yj plus zk. So we can write like this. Then this you can convert r bar dot m bar equal to a bar dot m bar, which can be written as r bar dot m cap equal to a bar dot m cap. So you can convert like this into normal form also. You have to see whether if it is a bar dot m cap is a scalar which is negative, that minus sign you have to give to m cap, because in the normal form right side should be always positive as it is the perpendicular distance from origin. So what is the geometrical interpretation of cross product? Suppose if you have a bar and b bar, two vectors, a cross b is a vector which is perpendicular to the plane generated by a bar b bar and forms a right-handed system with a bar and b bar, and whose magnitude is area of the parallelogram formed by a bar b bar as adjacent sides. So that's the reason modulus of a bar cross b bar is mod a bar mod b bar sine theta, where theta is the angle between them. That mod b bar sine theta is nothing but the height of the parallelogram. That's why geometrically a cross b is a vector whose magnitude is area of the parallelogram, taken a bar b bar as the adjacent sides. Half of that will give you area of the triangle. So perpendicular distance from a point to a line, dot and cross procedures. Now suppose you have a point A bar and a line is there. So assume that on the line you are given 2 points or one vector, anything. Suppose you have a BC, line is BC. So how we are expressing BC line? See, there are several ways. What I am saying, you may be given a vector along the line or 2 points along the line. So you have to create the vector along that line. Now let from one vector A bar, and this is BC bar. So I want perpendicular distance from A bar to line BC. So from B I joined. This is the perpendicular distance. Can I say if I do BA bar minus BA bar dot BC cap into BC cap into BC cap, this BA bar dot BC cap into BC cap will give you the horizontal component. From BA bar, if I remove that, I'll get the vertical component. So the modulus of that vector will be the length of perpendicular. Now the same thing I can do like this. Now if I extend like this and join like this, this mod BA bar cross BC bar will give you area of the parallelogram. By mod BC bar, if I do area of the parallelogram by base, I will get the height. So these are the two ways you can find perpendicular distance from a point to a line. Geometrical interpretation of scalar triple product. Scalar triple product means what? Box. Suppose A bar, B bar, C bar are three coplanar vectors. Box will be 0. If there are three non-coplanar vectors, they will form a system. Right-handed system or left-handed system, we don't know, but they will form a system. Now if you calculate the box, if it is positive, it is RHS. If it is negative, it is LHS. Left-hand system, right-hand system. And what this box will give you always, box modulus will give you always volume of the parallelepiped by with the A bar, B bar, C bar as initial or coterminous edges. Then 1/6 of box A bar, B bar, C bar modulus will give you volume of the tetrahedron with A bar, B bar, C bar as coterminous edges. So that is the geometrical interpretation of box. So box properties, already I told that box is nothing but det calculation of the drs of the vectors. So all the determinant properties we can use for box. Skew lines. Two lines which are not parallel, which are not intersecting. This is a special situation in 3D. The lines are called non-coplanar lines and they are also called skew lines. Suppose R bar equal to A bar plus lambda B bar. Please observe, this is the basic structure of the line. R bar equal to A bar plus lambda B bar, C bar plus mu D bar. So these are the basic structure of a line. One point on the line and one vector along the line. Now, shortest distance between the skew lines is join the points, you will get a vector. Cross the vectors. See, this B bar is along the first line, D bar is along the second line. If I do cross product, I'll get a vector which is perpendicular to both the lines. So shortest distance is the distance which is perpendicular to both the lines. That's why I have created a vector along the shortest distance. Then if I join these 2 points and if I do the projection of that joined points A bar minus C bar dot B cross D cap modulus, because it should be positive, it is called shortest distance. So two lines, different possibilities. So what are the possibilities you can have for two lines? So you have R bar equal to A bar plus lambda B bar, R bar equal to C bar plus mu D bar. So there are two lines. Now suppose the two lines are coincident, let us say like this. Then can I say the vector formed by a bar b, a bar minus c bar, that is a bar c bar is a bar minus c bar, which will be parallel to b bar, which will be parallel to d bar. That is the situation. Now let us say the two lines are parallel. So when two lines are parallel, b bar will be parallel to d bar, but not parallel to a bar minus c bar. So if the lines are parallel, one point is on one point, a bar is on one line, c bar in one line. So a bar minus c bar vector never parallel to b bar c bar. So this will be the condition. Now if they are intersecting, what will happen? B bar is not parallel to D bar. What about A bar minus C bar? I don't know. See, A bar here, C bar here, they may not be parallel. If A bar, C bar, the point of intersection is at A bar and C bar. Means A bar and C bar are equal. Then it will become null vector. So the only thing I will tell is B bar is not parallel to D bar. Then skew lines. So skew lines. See, if you recollect the shortest distance formula, what is the shortest distance formula? A bar minus C bar dot B cross B cross D cap modulus. So it is nothing but box A bar minus C bar B bar D bar by modulus of B cross D. So in this case, if you observe, the box of A bar minus C bar B bar D bar, both numerator and denominator are zeros in this case. Here also zeros. Here it is 0. Here it is not equal to 0. So when shortest distance, if you observe, it is not equal to 0, they are skew lines. If it is equal to 0, they are intersecting. If it is coincident or parallel, shortest distance will take indeterminate form. But these are the conditions you should understand and apply while solving the problems. Reciprocal system of vectors. Suppose A bar, B bar, C bar are three non-coplanar vectors. So it forms a system. Then A dash bar equal to B cross C by box ABC. B dash bar equal to C cross A by box ABC. C dash bar equal to A cross B by box ABC. These are the three vectors. If you observe carefully, A bar dot A dash bar B bar dot B dash bar C bar dot C dash bar are ones. Then A dash bar B dash bar C dash bar are called reciprocal system of the given system. Reciprocal system of the given system. So what is the geometrical interpretation of vector triple product? So A bar cross B bar cross C bar. You know the formula for this is A dot C into B bar minus A dot B into C bar. So if you observe carefully, the result is a linear combination of B bar and C bar. Linear combination of B bar and C bar. So it should be in the plane of bracket vectors. So please remember, vector triple product is a vector which is perpendicular to the individual vector and in the plane of bracket vectors. Actually it is perpendicular to both A bar as well as B cross C also, because it is a cross product between them. So that I am splitting like this. It is perpendicular to A bar but in the plane of B bar and C bar. In the plane of B bar and C bar. Product of four vectors. Suppose I have A cross B cross C cross D. So I can treat this as one vector. If I treat this as one vector, I can write a linear combination of C bar D bar. So A cross B dot D. So box ABD into C bar minus box ABC into D bar. Otherwise, I can take this as a one vector. So I can write box CDA into B bar minus box CDB into A bar. Now that is vector product. Suppose if I say A cross B dot C cross D, it will be a 2 by 2 determinant simply A dot C, A dot D, B dot C, B dot D. So a simple expansion. A dot C, A dot D, B dot C, B dot D. This AD minus BC determinant, if you expand 2 by 2, you will get the scalar product. Then equation of a line of intersection of planes. So equation of line of intersection of planes. Suppose you have two planes, A1x plus B1y plus C1z plus D1 equal to 0, A2x plus B2y plus C2z plus D2 equal to 0. Assume that these planes are intersecting. So there will be a line of intersection of the planes. How to get the line of intersection of the planes? You know that A1, B1, C1 are the DRs of the normal to the first plane. So A2, B2, C2 are the DRs of the normal line to the second plane. If I do, suppose this is some P bar vector and this is some Q bar vector. If I do P cross Q, what will happen? So P cross Q should be perpendicular to both the normal lines. So it should be on the both the planes. When it is perpendicular to both the normal lines, it should be on the both the planes. It should be on the both the planes means it should be along the line of intersection. Along the line of intersection. So I got a vector along the line of intersection. So to write the equation of a line, what is the basic structure? 1 point, 1 vector. I got a vector now. To get the point, you have to do like this. You substitute z equal to 0, solve for x and y. You will get a point x, some x1, y1, 0 structure. Suppose you are not getting, put y1 0. You will get x1 comma z1 structure. You are not getting 0, you put x, then yz you will get some values. You won't get all no, because if it is no, z is 0, it's not getting, y is 0, not getting, means they are passing through, then d1 d2 won't be there. So origin is the common point, so you know the common point. So taking this point, you can write the equation of the line of intersection of the plane. So planes, Cartesian discussions, foot and image. So just like your 2D straight lines, suppose if you have a point x1, y1, z1 and there is a plane ax plus by plus cz plus d equal to 0. Let the foot of the perpendicular is some alpha, beta, gamma. Then alpha minus x1 by a equal to beta minus y1 by b equal to gamma minus z1 by c equal to minus of ax1 plus by1 plus cz1 plus d by a square plus b square plus c square. If you extend it, you will get x2, y2, z2 as the image. Let us say these two are equal. Then if you use in the place of alpha, beta, gamma, x2, y2, z2, and instead of minus of, use minus 2 of, then you will get image. So please just you recollect your straight line formulas. It just looks like an extension for planes. Here there straight line, here plane. Ratio. Suppose there is a point A x1 y1 z1 B x2 y2 z2. This is a line segment joining x1 y1 z1 and x2 y2 z2. Let us say pi equal to 0 is a plane. It is cutting this line segment. Maybe internally or externally, I don't know. It is cutting. So what is the ratio? Same structure you have in lines also, straight lines in 2D. So I can say minus pi 1 1 is to pi 2 2. Sir, what is pi 1 1? So substituting this x1 y1 z1 in pi is called pi 1 1. Pi 2 2. So your wish, if you want, you can write minus pi a is to pi b. You can write pi a is to pi b. Substituting a and b. You know that if this ratio, total ratio is positive, it is internal division. When it will be positive, when pi a is to pi b, means pi a and pi b, let us say they have opposite signs. If they have opposite signs, minus pi a is to pi b will be positive ratio. Then internal division. Then points will lie on the opposite side. So opposite signs, opposite sides. Same side, same side. pi a and pi b have same sign, ratio will be negative, so external division. The points will be on the same side. Perpendicular distances. See, even in the normal forms also you can find perpendicular distance. Now using normal forms of the plane, you can find perpendicular distance from origin or any other point. But using Cartesians, it is very simple. Suppose ax plus by plus cz plus d equal to 0. From origin, perpendicular distance will be simply mod d by under root of a square plus b square plus c square. From any point x1, y1, z1, if I ask, suppose if I name this as pi, I can say suppose pi a, mod pi a by under root of a square plus b square plus c square will be the perpendicular distance from any point to the plane. Then if you have a x plus by plus cz plus d1 equal to 0, ax plus by plus cz plus d2 equal to 0. These are parallel planes. Distance between parallel planes is modulus of d2 minus d1 by under root of a square plus b square plus c square. Intercept form. Same logic. Let us say a plane intersects x-axis at a comma 0 comma 0. Then that number a is called x-intercept. If the plane cuts y-axis at 0, b 0, b is called y-intercept. If the plane cuts z-axis at 0 comma 0 comma c, that number c is called z-intercept. So if I give you a, b, c as intercepts on coordinate axis, then x by a plus y by b plus z by c equal to 1. So this is the equation of the plane. Then can I say 1 by a, 1 by b, 1 by c will be the drs of the normal line to such planes. Then what do you mean by pi 1 plus lambda pi 2 equal to 0? Suppose if two planes are intersecting, this is the line of intersection. So through this line of intersection you will have infinite planes. All those infinite planes can be developed using pi 1 plus lambda pi 2 equal to 0. It is called family of planes having this line of intersection common. Means pi 1 equal to 0, pi 2 equal to 0 are two planes. There is a line of intersection of the planes. All the infinite planes passing through that line of intersection can be generated by those pi 1 equal to 0 and pi 2 equal to 0. That is called family of the planes or system of planes. Its equation is pi 1 plus lambda pi 2 equal to 0. The different planes which are passing to that infinite planes I am speaking, the different planes passing to this line of intersection we can get by lambda values. So to get the lambda value, the problem giver will give some information to evaluate the lambda value. You should observe the information carefully, apply it, get the lambda value, and substitute back in the equation. You will get the required plane equations. Okay, angular bisectors, just like in straight lines 2D, here also a1x plus b1y plus c1z plus d1 equal to 0, one plane. a2x plus b2y plus c2z plus d2, another plane. Then by under root of a1 square plus b1 square plus c1 square equal to plus or minus under root of a2 square plus b2 square plus c2 square. This will give you angular bisectors. Plus equation will give you one angular bisector, minus equation will give you another angular bisector. Angular bisectors origin. What do you mean by origin? So angular bisector of that angle containing origin, not containing origin. So in the given plane equations, you have pi 1 equal to 0, pi 2 equal to 0. No, first step you make d1 positive and d2 positive. So after making d1 d2 positive, whatever equations you will get from that equations, you have to use the formula. So plus or minus this. So in this, whatever plane equations you are using, they are not old equations. After making d1 d2 positive, whatever plane equations you will get, you will use in this formula. And if you take plus, that will be the angular bisector containing origin, and if you take minus sign, not containing origin. Not containing origin. Now, how to get acute and obtuse angle bisectors? So you are given a1x plus b1y plus c1z plus d1 equal to 0, a2x plus b2y plus c2z plus d2 equal to 0. Now you calculate a1 a2 plus b1 b2 plus c1 c2. If it is 0, if a1 a2 plus b1 b2 plus c1 c2 is 0, there is no question of acute and obtuse because the planes will be perpendicular to each other. There is no question of acute and obtuse. So it will be either positive or negative. So I am using the word positive, negative. Now if it is positive, plus sign you use. If it is negative, minus sign you use, you will get obtuse angular bisector. That's all. Just I am asking you to remember obtuse. So acute you have to develop. Suppose a1 a2 plus b1 b2, I am asking acute. You got a1 a2 plus b1 b2 plus c1 c2 positive. You remember that positive will give you obtuse. Naturally, in that case, minus sign will give you acute. Suppose I got a1 a2 plus b1 b2 plus c1 c2 negative. Then negative sign, if I use, I'll get obtuse. It means in that situation, positive sign will give you acute angular bisector. So here I am not saying make d1 d2 positive. Please, some textbooks will write no need to make d1 d2 positive. But if you make d1 d2 positive and do this work, what will happen? Suppose if a1 a2, after say, assume that these are the plane equations after making d1 d2 positive. Then I calculated a1 a2 plus b1 b2 plus c1 c2, I got positive. Then I told that positive sign if I use, I will get obtuse. But these are already d1 d2 positive. No, if I use positive, already d1 d2 are positive. Then positive if I use, I will get containing origin. Means origin is contained in obtuse angle. So you can link them. That's all. So if d1 d2 are made positive, you can link containing origin and acute obtuse angular bisectors. But to get acute obtuse angular bisector, there is no condition that d1 d2 should be made positive. I try to revise all the concepts. If anything is missing, please go through it. All the best. Thank you.